Well, it's a new year. Welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers 2018, and would you believe it or not, it's an election year. We'll talk to a couple of guys trying to get re-elected this year, including Lieutenant Governor Mike Stack, also highlight his Pathway to Pardons program. And there's plenty to talk about in Washington. We'll catch up with U.S. Congressman Lloyd Smucker and all the things that are on the Republican agenda these days. That's all ahead on Pennsylvania Newsmakers.
This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers, a fast-paced, unrehearsed weekly discussion with and about the leaders who shape your world. And now, here's your host.
Hello and welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. I am Mike Straub, just filling the seat this week for Dr. Terry Madonna. Not to worry, he will be back next week to bring you his first show of 2018. And 2018 is an election year. It seems like it's never too early to start talking about elections. And we are joined this week, very honored to be joined by Lieutenant Governor, Mr. Mike Stack. Thank you so much.
Please, I'm honored to be with you. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you for making some time for us. We know you're getting set for a busy year and a busy time, Lieutenant Governor's office. Before we get into the election race that you're going to find yourself into, let's talk about the program that's taken up a lot of your time since you've joined, since you've been in office. The Pathway to Pardons program is such an interesting process. The Board of Pardons is not a new place. It's not a new job within state government. But certainly you've ramped up the efforts of the Board of Pardons.
I came to the office of Lieutenant Governor. I wanted to do criminal justice reform. I came to the conclusion, I think, that we've been doing it the wrong way in Pennsylvania and America, and that we should give people second chances who've earned them. And so I knew I would be chair of the Board of Pardons, but I didn't know that board would be so influential in being able to help people get second chances. And so I made it a point to really utilize that board because there's so many people out there, particularly with the opioid epidemic, who have made mistakes related to addiction. But why should we continue to ruin their life forever and punish them for the same crime when there's a chance that they can return to their families and be an important and vital part? They can be volunteers, teachers, healthcare workers. So I'd rather spend money on giving people a second chance, it takes very little money, as opposed to building more prisons and wasting lives. So we've found that it's getting a lot of attention, the program Pathway to Pardons, because it makes it easy to understand. And if you follow the steps you're supposed to, you can get a pardon. And how many of us know people around us who've made mistakes but are great people and deserve a second chance? And I think that's a really powerful thing, and so we're going to keep working on it.
I think what's interesting, too, is it's not just been done behind closed doors in some office. You've been out there on the road. What are some of the things you're hearing when you're out across the state? Because you've been holding Pathway to Pardons events really in every corner of Pennsylvania. What are you hearing from Pennsylvanians when you make these trips?
People are very excited. I think that you also have the stigma of people, they may have done something 20 years ago and are working or being involved in their community, and people around them may not know that they have this conviction from a long time ago, which is over something really silly that they did in their youth. And so when we go to these communities, people are, first of all, they're so relieved that they're going to be able to maybe have a chance at completely clearing up their record and being a full citizen. So no matter whether we go into a rural community or an urban community, we've been all over the state, whether it's a Republican or Democrat, it doesn't matter. There are people out there who deserve a second chance. That's what America and Pennsylvania has always been about. And you can't just sit there and wait here in Harrisburg. When you want to make change, you have to go out there and meet people all across Pennsylvania. And so the program's been going great. And we think even more people are seeking it, and that's why we're not going to have a lot of money for Pathway to Pardons. We have to get volunteers involved with us. We have to get everybody to help us who are interested in second chances, and we've really been able to get a lot of partners to help us.
And the stats speak for themselves. The number of pardons under your administration, the Wolf administration, is a lot higher than in previous governors. And we're talking a lot about folks who maybe, like I said, our friends and our neighbors who are already in the community who want a chance to get a better job, and maybe that conviction is holding them back. What's also going on that's worth noting are the folks who are serving life sentences and have a chance to commute those life sentences. And that's really an interesting wrinkle that maybe doesn't get enough attention.
Well, in Pennsylvania, we are second in life sentences in America.
Oh, wow.
So we're locking people up, throwing the key away, and then paying for their health care forever. And some of these people, when's enough enough?
Mm-hmm.
And so we've had a chance with people who have made mistakes in the past, were not a trigger person, or really, were not the main culprit and have been in jail for 40 years, some for 25 and so forth. And I think they make a compelling argument for being able to have their sentence commuted, and that's a powerful thing that, once again, our process in Pennsylvania, and I as chair of the Board of Pardons, we review commutations. We go and visit with prisoners at Camp Hill Prison, and we look them in the eyes, and they tell us their story. And if they have a compelling story of why they've changed and that they should be released, and released for parole forever. We've been able to do that, and the past administration did not commute any life sentences. Under our administration, Governor Wolf and mine, we've voted to commute 6, and the governor has done a great job. He's commuted 2 officially, and I know he'll do more. But these are people that can be role models and mentors to help others to not make the same mistakes. And I think that that's an important thing for us to be doing. We have to be about forgiveness, sensible forgiveness, and we are.
We're almost out of time in this segment, but I want to touch on this model is getting attention now, even in Washington, right? I've
been to the White House Drug Office with 2 administrations. Most recently this week, I visited with the Drug Czar and the Office of Drug Policy, and they want to set up the Pathway to Pardons as a national model across America, because it's the only sensible way to deal with the opioid epidemic, because people need to have a path to know if they find recovery from drugs and alcohol, that they're going to also be able to find a job and a future, and that really helps recovery.
A North Philly Democrat having a meeting, the Trump administration taking advice from a North Philly Democrat.
Well, you can't blame them for listening to common sense.
There you go. Well, thank you very much. All right, Lieutenant Governor Lloyd Smucker's not going anywhere. We're going to talk about his year that he just went through in 2017, and also look ahead to the race he'll find himself in 2018. That's when Pennsylvania Newsmakers continues.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the statewide voice of business, and by the Pennsylvania State Education Association and Partners for Public Education, bringing the power of a great education to our schools, our students, and our communities. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Highway Information Association, the go-to source to learn about transportation projects and issues. Please visit pahighwayinfo.org. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Welcome back to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. I'm Mike Straub, filling in for Terry Madonna this week. Not to worry, he'll be back in this seat next week, bringing you his first show of 2018. We are once again joined by the Honorable Lieutenant Governor, Mr. Mike Stack. Thank you for being here.
I'm very delighted. Thank you, Mike.
Fantastic. Well, 2017, you made headlines for the kind of reasons that I'm sure you don't want to. An investigation by the Inspector General into the actions within your own residence. That report was not going to be made public by the governor. What have you learned since that time? What has that process done for you and your family?
Well, we're a much stronger family now. We had a private family health issue, and it was serious, and we've dealt with the issues, and we've gotten help, and we're a much stronger family. We're really blessed to be able to have really good health care. But really, we're blessed to have so many friends across Pennsylvania, particularly in Central PA. So many people reached out to us with love and support, people that we'd met, and some perfect strangers that are just friends that we haven't got to meet yet. And we got so much support and love, and I just want to thank everybody because that meant a lot, and it continues to mean a lot. But so we've moved on. We're a much stronger family, and now we're tackling all the important issues in Pennsylvania. And it's such a great job and honor that I have to be Lieutenant Governor, and there's so many more things that we want to accomplish. I'm a human being like a lot of Pennsylvanians, and I think I connect with folks because we are all trying to accomplish the same things, great schools for our kids in the future, a state where we're going to have jobs here, and a state where we can all be proud to live. So we're working on those things, and we're excited about it.
Talk about working together. How would you briefly describe the relationship between you and Governor Wolf now?
Well, I think, we're lockstep on all the issues. So I think that's the most important thing. And I think we're going to tackle those issues together. And I think I can really help him on the re-election. I intend to do everything I can to make sure that he gets re-elected because it's important. He's accomplished some really great things, and I know he's got a number of things he wants to tackle. And we have to do that together. We have to figure out a way to get men and women, Democrat and Republican, all to get on board with making Pennsylvania all that it can be. And so the relationship angle is very important, and we're going to work together to get others to invest in Pennsylvania's future.
Well, you'll find yourself in a race maybe sooner than you thought for most incumbents. You'll have some challengers here in the primary.
Right.
What are the key issues going to be for you as you look at now you've got to ramp up this re-election campaign a little bit sooner than most incumbents?
Well, I'm one of those people. I've always enjoyed, I've always done well in competition, and so I'm not afraid of competition. I welcome it. It gives me a chance to talk about my ideas again and to really demonstrate to folks the things that I think are important. And I think that will go very well. I've been in a previous primary when I ran for the office, and I had about 4 or 5 different contenders, and it was not a close race. So I intend to work hard. And I welcome anybody who wants to run for public office. I think it's a challenging thing to do. So I appreciate anyone who takes the effort to do it, and I look forward to really getting out there and connecting with Pennsylvanians on all the important issues.
Fantastic. There are so many important issues. We had more time to dig into all of them. We're run out of time. We really appreciate you being here, Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you.
Thank you for making time for us, and best of luck on the campaign trail.
Thank you, Mike.
Stay warm out there.
I'll try to. You too. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. When we come back, we'll be joined by a U.S. Congressman, a Republican looking to also get reelected this year. Lloyd Smucker will be here when Newsmakers continues.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. Pennsylvania Credit Unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, check out ibelong.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Hospital and Health System Association of Pennsylvania, working towards a healthy Pennsylvania.
Welcome back to Pennsylvania Newsmakers, our first show of 2018. And what a year it was in Washington in 2017. We are joined now by a gentleman who had a front row seat to all the action down there. U.S. Congressman Lloyd Smucker represents Pennsylvania's 16th District, Lancaster, portions of Chester, and Berks County. I think I got them all in there.
That's right.
Thank you so much for being here, Congressman.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Mike.
We appreciate the time. Thank you so much. Well, as we look back at last year, especially the last 30 days or so, what a turn of events, if you will, for tax reform in this country and to Pennsylvanians. Tell us why you supported that plan and why it came together the way it did.
Yeah, like you said, it's been a remarkable year. It's been 1 year now of being in office, and it's been a great year. But as a small business owner, understand how the overreach of government, how a broken tax system has affected businesses and has affected middle-income America. So that's why I'm so excited about this bill. I enthusiastically supported it. It does 2 major things. One is it provides a tax cut. It puts more money in the pockets of virtually everyone, of middle-income America, working hard, feeling like they're doing everything they should be doing, but maybe not getting ahead. This just provides a little additional help in that regard. It also simplifies the system for them, so they'll spend less time filing taxes. And then the second thing it does, it creates a level playing field for our businesses, our job creators, helping them to compete on what today is a global marketplace. And so helps them compete by having a competitive tax structure, and then it incentivizes job creation here rather than overseas. Our broken system actually incentivizes moving jobs overseas. And so you're going to see a real impact both in initial dollars to middle-income America, but then in job creation, and you're going to see upward wage pressure as well. So I'm really excited about it. I think it's a game changer.
And we've already seen some businesses publicly brag about giving bonuses to their companies. I mean, there's no denying that that side of it is already in action.
Right.
I think the part that's hard for maybe even some conservatives to deal with is the deficit increase that everybody agrees part of. I mean, that's why there's a bird rule on this bill, right? So how do we rationalize this increase in the deficit, at least in the short term?
Well, one of the things I've seen since getting to Washington, being there the first year, is how broken our budget system is, and how problematic our $1 trillion in debt is. One thing I know about it, you can't solve that growing at less than 2% economic growth. We have to find ways to generate additional revenue, and you do that by ramping up the economy. And I think this tax structure incentivizes that. And you're seeing it already in the optimism in the stock market. You're seeing it in the optimism of wage earners. It was a really great Christmas season. People are optimistic and spending money. And then you're seeing it in that increased wages and job creation. So I think you're going to see the opposite impact. I think this will generate that economic growth that will provide additional revenues, and you'll see a reduction in the debt.
Okay. And that's a popular line of thinking. No argument there. I was sat in a room with Pat Toomey with a bunch of job employers in Lancaster County, and everybody agreed. I feel like there's portions that jumped out to me where I am in my own life, just what I consider, a middle-class Pennsylvanian by my own standards here. But the lack of deduction on the home equity loan and then the capping of the property taxes feels like that could be something that, as I look at my own tax reform, my own tax filings from previous years, feels hard on me. So where do you think middle class really comes out as a winner in this tax bill?
Well, what I'd encourage you to do, and I don't know, maybe you have, but there are several, CNN and several other organizations have models online. You can plug in your own information, and you'll see the savings that you get under the plan. It's really, really important to look at the entire package. So yes, there are some limits of deductions to simplify the process of filing taxes. We've increased the standard deduction, meaning that almost over 90% of those filing will be able to use the standard deduction because they'll have more deduction that way rather than itemizing. But it's really, really important to look at the entire package. And my guess is, I don't know your specific situation, but my guess is you'll save significant dollars under this plan compared to the old.
And I think you're right. I've done that. And you're right about that. And I'm not asking you to be my personal candidate, but thank you so much. I appreciate it. Lots more coming with the Congressman. We'll talk about last year and then looking ahead to a election year already. Hard to believe that when Newsmakers continues.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Medical Society. Inspired physicians committed to the good health of Pennsylvanians and the advancement of the practice of medicine. And by the Pennsylvania Healthcare Association, advancing quality, improving lives.
Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Mike Straub, filling in for Terry Madonna. I hope your new year is off to a great start, and we hope the same for U.S. Congressman Lloyd Smucker, Pennsylvania's 16th District. Thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it. We touched on the tax reform. We appreciate that. What's next on the agenda for the Republicans in Washington, maybe you personally?
Well, I think we'll continue to advance an agenda that unleashes the American people, that pulls back the overreach of the federal government. I went to Washington to try to fix what is broken. And so, we've already done a lot of work on regulatory relief. The tax reform. We've repealed the individual mandate for health care, but we need to continue to work on that. But most importantly, we had talked about the tax reform. Again, as a small business owner, I saw what can happen when you allow free enterprise to flourish and you pull back government. And so I think the tax reform is going to be a game changer, and it will unleash the economy and provide more opportunity for the American people.
As you look back, because this was your first term in Washington, you're not the term career politician gets thrown around all the time. You're not a career Washington politician, elected just one time. It seems like it was just yesterday we were talking about it. As you look back on your first year in Washington, what are some of the things that maybe folks back home in the 16th would be most interested to learn about, or things that have most surprised you or impressed you as your time in D.C.?
Well, I talked about the agenda, but one of the things that I've seen, I've served on the Budget Committee, and we passed out of the committee what was the vehicle for tax reform, but also provided a blueprint, a framework for a balanced budget within 10 years. But during that process, saw what other people already have known, but saw personally how broken the process is and how little accountability there is to achieve fiscal responsibility at the federal level. We got to fix that. We absolutely have to fix that. There's no place you can go where you say the buck stops here right now. And so one of the priorities for me and priorities for us as Congress must be that we fix that budget process. I really don't think we're going to solve the debt crisis until we reform Congress and reform the budget process. So I'm hoping, as part of the Budget Committee, that we hold hearings this year that begin to look at the Budget Act of 1974 is the last time we really reformed that process and makes changes to bring more accountability at the federal level.
Let's touch on something for you that a major accomplishment in your first term, getting some of your language into a law in your first year in Congress. Help folks who may have missed that, help folks understand what happened there. Yeah,
I serve on the Education and Workforce Committee, and so we've been focused on apprenticeships, on career technical education, on ways to ensure that people can participate in the workforce, be prepared for the jobs of today. But this specifically is an apprenticeship program for folks coming out of the military. So these are veterans who have served well. They're transitioning to the private sector, and we should provide all the help that we can. There's an apprenticeship program for some of the military that had been in place, but not for all of them, only about half. And so this bill, or the language, it was a bill that I introduced and then was included in the act that was passed, just simply provides, makes that apprenticeship program available to anyone who has served in the military.
Maybe something worth pointing out in that bill is that you worked with some Democrats on that bill too. I think folks think that these days in Washington, as partisan maybe as we've seen in our lifetime, it's worth noting that you guys went across the aisle to get that bill done.
That's right, yes.
Well, as we run out of time here, can we just talk a little bit about 2018 in general? I think there's a sense, as you look at some of the other races, whether it be the election night in Virginia or Alabama, that there's a different sort of tone already to this election maybe even than just 2 years ago. So what's your approach as you look at the race that's going to shape up here? It's a few months away, but believe it or not, it's already re-election time.
Sure.
What do you think are going to be the key issues in the 16th and other districts in Pennsylvania? Heck, there's a special election in a couple of weeks in Pennsylvania that I think are really going to be on your radar as you look ahead to the races this year.
Sure. Well, I think we're going to be talking about the promises that we kept, that I kept, talked in the campaign about providing more opportunity for Americans, about tax reform, about fixing the health care, about regulatory relief, about a strong national defense. Those are going to be issues that we're going to talk about. It's the issues that our voters, my constituents, are interested in. But I think we're seeing a new optimism from the constituents that I represent. So I'm feeling really good about the upcoming election. Fantastic.
Well, thank you so much for being with us on Pennsylvania Newsmakers. I wish you a wonderful weekend. I understand you'll be at the farm show this weekend. So if you're at the farm show, keep your eyes peeled for the congressman and some other congressmen who will be at the farm show this weekend. And best of luck in Washington as you guys get back to work. Stay warm out there.
Thank you.
It is freezing cold. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us and spending part of your weekend with Newsmakers. I am Mike Straub, and don't worry, Terry Madonna will be back in this seat next week. Have a wonderful week.